Listen, I tried to come up with a clever tease this week. Really, I did. But you try coming up with a comedic way to roast the men's basketball team, hype up the track and field team, and somehow talk about the soccer teams even though they aren't in season. I know I make it look easy, but it is harder than it looks. Hello, I'm Siobhan Nolan.
And I'm Libby Gilliland. If I could talk about golf the entire show, I would, but unfortunately we don't start our season for a couple more weeks, and I'm out of friends to interview. So get ready for some more basketball. You're watching Salle TV's home for Explorer Athletics, SportsLine.
Welcome to SportsLine. You're never going to believe this, but sports happened this week, meaning we have a whole new set of recaps coming up for you.
And later, last week it was a live interview, and this week it's a live Explorer report.
But first, let's take a look at our SportsLine top 3.
Lacrosse's Tori Rowland was named the Atlantic 10 Player of the Week after scoring an impressive 5 goals in lacrosse's season opener against Iona. This is Rowland's first time winning the accolade and also marks the first time an Explorer has received the honor for lacrosse since Tony Massetti earned it back in 2017. Rowland was also named the NovaCare Student Athlete of the Week for her career-high 5 goals, which helps lacrosse stage a comeback against Iona this past weekend. In addition to her goals, Rowland also achieved a perfect 3-for-3 record from free position shots.
Number 2. Senior Phoebe Shea earned her first career gold while competing in Day 1 of the A10 Championships. The standout senior earned her 4th A10 medal by winning the 1-meter dive, edging out the silver finisher by just 1 point. Shea earned the first gold for the Explorers A10s as they seek to get more as the championships roll on into the weekend.
Number 3, the rowing team recently announced their captains for the 2021-2022 season. First, on the women's side, sophomores Katie Vassy and Lily Henshaw were selected as captains. Both women were part of the Novice 8 boat that won silver in the Dadville Regatta a season ago. On the men's side, Jimmy Machini and Sean Donahue were voted team captains. Team Ivo Kresic said the seniors, quote, "These two seniors have faced a lot of adversity through the past couple of years. However, they persevered and are some of the most dedicated athletes on the team," unquote.
So Tori Rowland getting things started really strong for lacrosse, earning A10 Player of the Week and NovaCare Student Athlete of the Week, 5 goals in 1 game. I mean, that's just amazing for the first game out of the spring season.
Yeah, it's a really good sign for this team. First game, 5 goals, very impressive, and now we can kind of see, okay, that's your leader for the year, or for the first few games. It's somebody you can go to, somebody you can count on, and that's really exciting for them.
And lacrosse is a team that, you know, a lot of teams last season didn't have an ideal record, so it's a really good start to have them come out so strong. They only won the game by 1 goal, so it really goes to show that every single goal matters. But a team that is doing really well is swimming and diving at the A10 Championships. Phoebe Shea with the gold. The whole team it's really great to see them at the championships after having such a kind of up and down season, which is understandable considering they weren't even sure that they were going to have one. So it's really nice to see that LaSalle is getting gold medals at that.
Yeah, it shows a lot of perseverance and strength, and we're super proud of them. A10s, like we talked about last week, it's what you work for the whole season, and it's great to see that they performed well.
Yeah, and especially under a new coach and everything, you know, the diving events are something that LaSalle does really strongly in, and we still have more results to come as the weekend goes on. And then rowing announcing new captains is always exciting, you know, getting to see what kind of leadership is going to be happening during the season and just seeing who's going to kind of lead those teams as the season goes on.
Yeah, I know that's always an exciting part of being on a team in general, especially being an upperclassman. Who's going to be your leader? And I know it's kind of a drama-filled situation for a lot of teams, but hopefully the team's excited about these leaders and they sound like they're perfectly qualified for the job.
Absolutely, and that's it for top 3. Now let's see how our teams did in this week's recaps. The men's basketball team kicked off a 4-game road trip on Saturday, traveling down to Virginia to take on Richmond. Clifton Moore continued to be big on offense for the Explorers, scoring 8 of the team's first 11 points. Both teams traded baskets, with Richmond holding a narrow 17-16 lead after 8 minutes of play. LaSalle was then able to jump ahead 26-23 after Richmond missed 8 consecutive shots. The scoreline would remain close as halftime saw the Spiders lead 36-33. Moore opened up the second half, scoring 4 of the first 6 points for the Explorers. Jack Clark then scored 5 straight points, but Richmond would hold a 63-51 lead with 8 minutes to play. Several fouls allowed the Spiders to widen their advantage, and the game would end in a 77-63 loss for LaSalle. It was then off to St. Louis, where the Explorers were down early, seeing the Billikens take a 7-0 lead. A 9-0 run from St. Louis took the lead to 28-13 before Josh Nickelberry and Clifton Moore hopped on offense to try and cut the deficit. LaSalle ended up trailing by as many as 18, but Jack Clark stepped up to score 8 consecutive points. However, the Blue and Gold would trail 51-32 going into halftime. Things did not get better at all for LaSalle, so much so that it isn't even really worth recapping much of the second half. All you need to know is that the Explorers lost 90-64.
Women's basketball broke even this week, falling on the road to Richmond, but taking a win at home against Davidson. Sunday afternoon was the road match. The Explorers started slow, allowing Richmond to take a 24-12 lead after the first quarter, shooting only 21.7% from deep for the game. LaSalle struggled to score as the Spiders led as much as 24 in the third quarter. Back-to-back threes from Kayla Spurl wasn't enough to get the Explorers back in the game, and they fell to Richmond 75-58. Wednesday night was a different story. The Explorers came out hot at Tomgola Arena, taking a 14-2 lead in the first 4.5 minutes of the game. The Wildcats would battle back and keep the game in reaching distance through the end of the third quarter. However, the Explorers put their best foot forward in the fourth, pulling ahead by as many as 15 points. They held on to their lead and defeated Davidson 80-68. Kayla Spurl, Claire Jacobs, and Jay Hines all ended the game in double digits and improved their three-point percentage to 55%. The Explorers are now 6-6 in the A10.
The track and field team had 2 events this weekend, with the team splitting up to head to New York and Boston. First was the fast track invite in New York. For the men, Alex Sanders was a top finisher in the 5,000 meter, earning a bronze medal. Nathan Pelangeli finished in the top 10 in the 3,000 meter, taking 7th. Ben Wolf took 14th in the long jump, recording a jump of 6.43 meters. On the women's side, Julia Flood took a bronze medal in the 800 meter, while Jerica Lofrano finished right behind her in 4th. At the Boston Valentine Classic, LaSalle had similar results. Elle Mancini placed 13th in the 5,000 meter, Jenna Webb claimed 19th in the 1,000 meter, and Liz Mancini ran the mile and finished in 34th place.
Lacrosse opened up their season with a matchup against Iona. It was a close match, but both teams taking turns with the lead. Iona opened the scoring in the first period before sophomore Kiki Venza tied it at 1. The Explorers then added 2 more goals to take a 3-1 lead. Despite the run by LaSalle, the first period would end with the game tied at 4. The Explorers would score 2 goals to start the second period, with Tori Rowland completing her hat trick. But Iona once again had the game tied by the end of the period with a score of 66. Both teams would trade goals before Emily Johnson would put the Explorers up 8-7. Then they went on a 6-3 run to take the lead and make the score 13-11. In the final period, the Blue and Gold responded to this run by scoring 4 unanswered goals in the fourth, as Rowland scored her 5th goal of the day with the help of goalie Julia De La Rada. The Explorers earned a comeback win 14-13.
So men's basketball. Just what even is there to say anymore? It's honestly getting embarrassing at this point how badly they lose. A 90-64 loss. I get that it's on the road. I get that it's after, a pretty busy stretch of games, but you can only have so much individual talent, and that doesn't save you. We talk about it every week. It's Clifton Moore, it's Josh Nickelberry, it's Jack Clark. Where is everyone else on the team? There are 5 players on that court, and it seems like we only ever talk about a select few of them. And it's just getting really frustrating to see that not only are they losing, but they're losing in pretty spectacular fashion.
Yeah, the game against Richmond, a little bit closer, not as bad. And then, they go to St. Louis and
get crushed.
I just saw the score, and it's when you go into the second half already losing, you're coming off a losing streak, you're not going to have a ton of motivation, and that's just kind of what it sounds like for them. They're just struggling to get their motivation back up and finish out the season, especially against these A10 opponents. I feel like you would want to prove yourself a little bit more, but it seems like they're not there right now.
And, the women did fare a little better. They had the lost, but then they won. And you can tell that with the women, there is motivation there. They don't sit on their losses. They keep going, they work hard, they do better the next game. And for the men, it just doesn't always seem that way. So, you know, at this point, it's got to be a coaching problem because they have such great players and the individual performances are there, but something's going wrong in the way that they put the teams together. So, I mean, at this point, the season's it's kind of done for. There's not really much hope that they have to make it to A10s.
On the women's side, coming off that loss and going at home at Davidson, we saw a little bit of fight back in them. And it was great to see everyone was contributing in that game. Kayla Spurl, Claire and Amy Jacobs, we say their names all the time, but even through an injury in the middle of the game, they kept going, and the whole game was close, but in the fourth quarter, they really took initiative, put their foot on the gas, and they finished the game. And that's what we need to see from the guys, and that's what we're seeing from the girls, and I think that's ultimately why they're getting wins.
And a brighter spot in this week has been the lacrosse team. We talked about Tori Rowland and her 5 goals. A come-from-behind win is always exciting, so it was really great to see that they were able to rally, you know, really show the offense, not give up even though they were down. So, again, it's really great to see that lacrosse is getting off to a good start, and hopefully that'll be a more positive, you know, setting the tone for the season ahead. And track and field also did pretty well considering that their team was split in between 2 invites. So even though it's not, you know, the best finishes that they've ever had, it's still respectable for the track and field team.
Yeah, it is. They still have, you know, some season ahead of them, but when your team gets split up, it's a different kind of vibe. But, you know, decent performances from them, and really great for lacrosse to see them get a win, and hopefully they have more motivation going into the rest of the season, going 0-1 or 1-0.
And that's it for recap. So when we come back, we'll give you our Explorer Report Game of the Week. Stay tuned.
Extinction is forever. To save America's most iconic and imperiled species from extinction, we must fight for their future. Fight to save the natural lands that wildlife call home. Fight to limit pollution. Fight for smart development. Fight for their future. And fight for ours. For so goes nature, so goes us.
Using meth taught me everything about freedom, only not like you think. It taught me how easy it is to lose your freedom, how meth can take control until you find yourself doing whatever meth tells you to do. Before you get there, while you still can, take a stand for yourself. If you feel yourself losing your freedom to meth, ask for help. Accept the help. It's worth it. You have the power to be truly free and be the person you want to be. I know, I'm Jan, and I'm free from meth.
If you or someone you know is struggling with meth, call 1-800-662-HELP for 24-hour free and confidential treatment referral. Learn more at samhsa.gov/meth.
Welcome back. For this week's Explorer Report Game of the Week, we have women's basketball going against A10 rival St. Louis. The game will take place February 19th at Tom Gola Arena and will also be the team's senior night. Entering the game, the Explorers are coming off a win against Davidson that ended a 3-game losing streak. The team is currently 6th in the A10 with 3 games left in the season. So far in the season, the team is being led by senior Kayla Spurl. And Spurl, in a breakout season, was named to All-Conference second team and has seemingly played beyond that. She's 6th in the conference in scoring, while also being 6th in the field in goal percentage, and 1st in three-point and free throw percentage.
On the other hand, St. Louis has not seen the same success as LaSalle. They're 8-15 and have only won 4 games in the conference. Both teams have a similar record in the last 5 games, but the Billikens have faced multiple losing streaks this season. The team does have a few bright spots, like guard Siaja Harbison. Harbison is 2nd in the conference in scoring with 18.8 points per game. They also have center Brooke Flowers, who leads the A-10s in rebounding. Unfortunately for St. Louis, their individual success has not translated to the team. So hopefully the women's team can do a bit better against St. Louis, and it sounds like with St. Louis, they have the same problem as our men's team does. They have some good individual performers, but the team as a whole is where things really start to struggle.
Yeah, and the issue I can see for LaSalle maybe in this game is St. Louis having the top rebounder. We struggle in the post a little bit, so hoping that maybe we can just keep everything on the outside or move it around a little bit better so we're not having to win the rebound game.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to see Kayla Sproul. She's had such a good season. She's been such a consistent player, and it's kind of a shame that she's a senior because we'd really like to see her play longer, but it's really amazing to see that with every game that she plays, it seems like she gets better and better. She gets the points, she's on the offensive, and she's just one of the hardest working players on the court, so I'm just really excited to see her in the conference again and going up against St. Louis, because even though they're not having the best season right now, St. Louis is still a very good basketball team, so I'm really excited to see what she does against that team and how she improves her stats even more.
Yeah, and one thing that really excites me about this game is that it's senior night. We have a lot of seniors, Kayla Sproul being one of them. Really sad to lose her, but this is their final 3 games.
Yeah.
So they're going to have a ton of motivation coming off a win especially. I'm looking to see some fire and some passion in the way that they play, maybe more than usual, just because of that special night.
Yeah, and being at home always helps, and having that kind of home team behind you always helps as well. But we've been seeing a lot of great stuff from the women's team, and I think that this is probably the closest they've ever been. In talking to a lot of the players, they say that there's a really good team chemistry happening, and so it's really promising to see. You know, you have your usual players like Molly Massantonio, Claire and Amy Jacobs. Obviously, they're going to be good and have a good season, but it really says something that the team chemistry is seemingly at an all-time high. And even though they are losing a fair number of seniors, there's still a lot of really promising underclassmen talent that they've been utilizing. So even though senior night is always a sad night for a team, I'm really excited to see how the seniors perform and also what the underclassmen take away from seeing them play and how they kind of make the team their own in next season.
Yeah, you can just see it on the bench, how excited they are to be playing together. Their, cheers on the bench. It's, more than the men would ever do, but
Yeah.
it's so fun to watch. You can just tell that they're happy to be there, they want to be there, and their coach gets fired up as well. And it's a great team dynamic, and the foundation that the seniors on this team have built, I think, is really gonna go into next year for these underclassmen, and they learned a lot this year, I think, and I'm really excited to see what they can do next year.
Yeah, and big shout out to Mountain McGilvery because he has had a really tough year. His daughter was diagnosed with leukemia, which they've showed out. They've really raised a lot of money and a lot of awareness for that. But he's done such a great job with this team, and it's a program that he really had to kind of build from the ground up. And like you were saying, he gets so fired up on the sidelines. You can see the passion. You could see throughout the entire game. He wants this team to win, not for him and not for their egos, but for LaSalle, and to kind of prove to people that this women's team does have what it takes to be one of the best in the conference, and that they have the talent, they have the work ethic. So just really want to highlight that, because obviously a good coach makes all the difference, and when you talk to the players, they have nothing but great things to say about him. So it's really nice to see that along with the team chemistry, they have that really great bond with the coaching staff as well.
Yeah, he's been amazing with this team, and like I said, you can just see it on the bench. He is running on the court and off the court.
Yeah.
He's yelling all the time, but it's out of love. You can see that he loves these girls and he loves this school, and he's happy to be here and so passionate about this team. And I think that's what's led to a lot of their success. If you have a coach pushing you to be better, he said last night, stop being tired was his quote. And I'm like, okay.
But that's a really great mentality to have, is that, you know, you're supposed to condition yourself to be able to play that long and play well for that long. So it's a very much tough love approach, but I really think that it has been working and paying off in this team. And the results, it hasn't always been what we've expected or what we would want, but you can tell in the way that they play that the numbers might not be exactly where they want it to be, but in the style of play, things have improved dramatically. So it's something that is really only going to go up for here, which is really exciting for LaSalle.
Yeah, you can see them the past couple of games pushing through the fourth quarter and improving and getting those wins, especially the win last night. And I think that's really going to propel them into these last 3 games and hopefully end the year with a 4-game winning streak.
Yeah, we can only hope. And
we have one last break, but when we come back, we'll give you the games for this week.
What if one day you went to that secret place, that spot that only you know about, and instead of what you came for, you found this? What would you do? Would you stop and give it some thought? The truth is, all drug use comes with risk. Before those risks become real, before drugs turn your life upside down, before drugs take their toll on you and your family. Know that there is help. You can quit. If you or someone you love is struggling with drug use or prescription drug misuse, call 1-800-662-HELP for 24-hour free and confidential information and treatment referral, or go to samhsa.gov/knowtherisks.
Unlike other health concerns, mental illness is not always easy to see.
Third line, please.
DEPRESSION.
Mental illness doesn't show up on a scale.
Bipolar?
Sorting out a mental health concern is not something to attempt on your own.
Anxiety. I thought so.
Like many health conditions, help for mental illness takes professional diagnosis and treatment. And the sooner you seek treatment, the better.
Look at that. 6,000 steps and PTSD.
If you or a loved one has a mental health concern, don't go it alone. Find out what to do. For 24-hour free and confidential information and treatment referral, call 1-800-662-HELP. Learn more at samhsa.gov/support.
Welcome back. Here are the LaSalle sporting events coming up this week. The swimming team finishes up the A10 championships with the last 2 days of competition Friday and Saturday. Saturday has a full slate as multiple teams are in action. Men's basketball takes on UMass on the road, and the women play St. Louis on senior night. Finally, lacrosse plays Mount St. Mary's at home.
then to finish up the week, 3 teams play on Wednesday the 23rd. Lacrosse is on the road to take on Delaware as men's basketball goes up to New York to take on Fordham. Women's basketball plays Duquesne at Tom Gola. So it's really going to be interesting to see if the men can come back from the losing streak that they've been on, especially since they're still on the road. They have games kind of running close together. It's a lot of traveling to different states. So I'm not super hopeful, all those circumstances considered, but hopefully they can bounce back from the way that they've been playing.
Yeah, it is the end of the season. They're on the road. They're wearing down a little bit. We can see it in the way that they're playing. But hopefully somebody can motivate them to play a little bit harder and get a win this weekend.
I think we need you on the sidelines, Livy, just like, you know, yelling at them, getting them going. I'm also really excited for women's basketball, obviously, because their senior night. That's always a great night to honor the seniors and all of their contributions to the team over these last 4 years. Swimming and diving is also going to be really nice to see as the results kind of come out over the weekend, because like we've said before, A10s is what people work for. It's what you train for all season. So it's looking like we're going to get some pretty good results out of that too.
Yeah, we should have a lot to talk about next week on that front, but a
Absolutely.
great weekend for swimming, and hopefully they can finish up the year strong. For the women, I'm really hopeful they're gonna get the win this weekend. Just with it being senior night, there's a lot of excitement going into the game, and they're coming off that win.
Yeah, and especially with the men's team against Fordham is a game that I'm really interested to see because that's who they open their conference play against. And so seeing it at Fordham, even though Fordham has been not great lately, but it's just going to be really nice to see them try to turn things around in the conference. And then we have lacrosse going on the road to Delaware. So we have a lot of people traveling this week. And so it'll be really interesting to see how they can kind of go off of that comeback one that they had this past weekend and hopefully get a similar result against Delaware.
Yeah, let's see if that motivation and drive moves into the weekend for lacrosse, coming off a win. But being on the road is a little bit tougher, of course, beginning of the season. But I'm confident that they'll get this win.
It's a busy slate of games, and it really does kind of take a toll, but you know, they're used to it, they know what they're doing, and hopefully, even though for some people it's the very end of the season, some are just beginning that, it won't make too much of a difference. And that just about wraps it up for us this week. If you can't make it out to see the Explorer Report, be sure to tune in next week for our coverage. Keep up with this weekend's other sporting events by visiting goexplorers.com. You can also check out the digital edition of the Collegian, which now features SportsLine content.
Also, check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/LaSalle TV and on Instagram at SportsLine LTV. We welcome you to send your thoughts and suggestions there. This week's poll is, who would win in an arm wrestling competition, Isaiah or Jamie?
My money's on Jamie.
You know what? I'll go with Isaiah.
Okay, so that's going to be our next live thing. We're going to have them arm wrestle here on desk, and then we'll see.
Yes.
And for our entire SportsLine team, I'm Siobhan Nolan.
And I'm Libby Gilliland. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you at the game.